If I shake my fist, it gives me vibrato. What's going on, everybody? It is Kev Kelm. This is the WrestleZone wrap-up on a Tuesday. If you're with us on the live stream on YouTube, on Facebook, I'm coming to you from the Thunder Zone. Look what's going on behind me right now. If you guys watch the video version of the podcast, I am coming to you from the Thunder Zone, which was secretly helped curated by one Mr. Robert DeFelice, who's with me today. Robert DeFelice, down throwing the temper tantrum down in Florida. So angry. He gets a Thunder Zone. I get this. This is pretty cool. You get the Thunderdome. I get the Thunder Zone. It's pretty cool.
You know, that's okay though, because Florida gets everything. We still
right. For people on the podcast side of things, I have a backdrop behind me. Yes. So it's finally not just like my crappy room. It looks legit. It looks like something you want to have your picture in front of. So I'm very thankful to that. We'll explain the story of that because Robert was involved in some espionage to make this possible. So I'm very thankful for that. We'll talk about that before the end of the show for the diehards who want to know what's going on here. We have a lot to talk about today. Royal Rumble, big Royal Rumble news today. And we'll talk about whether or not there will be live fans at the Royal Rumble. And obviously, a recurring topic on the show is when are we going to have fans back at WWE shows full force? Well, there's a lot of reasons why that isn't happening with the pandemic right now, but we'll talk about it. AEW has maybe the biggest Dynamite they've ever presented tomorrow on TNT. And we have a takeover this Sunday. So wrestling doesn't slow down, even though we're in 2020, and 2020 is very 2020. So, Robert, we'll jump right into it. Royal Rumble, what is the news from WrestleVotes today? They are the big scooping Twitter handle that gives us so much information.
So it simply says, internally, WWE is said to want a decision on whether fans are permitted for the Royal Rumble by January 7th. So that's about 5 weeks from now.
I think it's reasonable in terms of what's going on and how they can handle the space and the protocols and all those different things. The thing is, they're moving to Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
Okay, and Tropicana Field is going to hold about 40,000 people. It's going to have a lot more people in there. And there's been a lot of speculations immediately when we heard that news a few weeks ago that they were moving from the Amway Center in Orlando, staying in Florida, in St. Petersburg, home of the Devil Rays. I keep saying that. The Rays of Major League Baseball, not too far from you, St. Petersburg. So open air, people think that's a little bit safer. They think it has the amphitheater setup maybe of what AEW has. And they've had fans now, 850 fans at their shows now for a couple months. And it's made a difference. Now, WWE, though, has spent millions and millions of dollars to bring in as many fans as they think they can through either augmented footage or live streaming and this big LED setup that is the Thunderdome. And it seems like we're getting a version of the Thunderdome inside Tropicana Field. Doesn't look like they're going to use the entire space from what we can.
So they're going to do the Thunderdome in Tropicana Field. And even it was said in a previous tweet from WrestleVotes, if they can get fans for the Rumble, that will be great. But the very next night, it would go right back to being all Thunderdome. I think the Rumble is the best place to do this because you can't do a Royal Rumble without people. Because I'll tell you right now, as a fan, as a spectator, if you pipe in crowd noise of the fans doing that obnoxious buzzer sound, and it's not just people,
it's going to piss people off so much.
I would be so upset if they just piped in that noise. But I think, listen, fans want to go back to shows. John Clark is itching. He's itchy. He wakes up in the morning itchy to go back to wrestling.
John Clark joins me on the Monday Night Raw post shows and our Wednesday post shows for AEW and NXT. He has expressed that if they have fans at Royal Rumble, he wants to be there. He will go and be there. Now, everyone deals with this in their own way. And I'm of the thought where I think W is going to try their darndest to have fans in some way. Mind you, they do have fans at the NXT shows for the past, 2 months now in the Capitol Wrestling Center. And
it's been about a month.
And mind you, those fans are there's no tickets sold. So those are all people that they've recruited, that they screen, that they test. So are you going to be able to do that on some scale for one show in January? I think they can.
Again, I don't understand why they wouldn't just go with that route.
Yeah, but I think that's a more plausible route than people actually being able to buy tickets for a show.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like AEW sells tickets.
Yeah,
and they've been doing so for a while, and it's fine. But I don't understand it. Like, why wouldn't you just have friends and family of your many, many, many employees pack as much as you can, just to have the vibe of an audience, and then you get the NXT United bunch, and they can fill it up too, and I think it's time. I know. Listen, I've been hard on COVID since like February.
Yeah, but I do think it is time to do something like this safely, and also I think it's a lot safer to do it in a stadium like this where you can spread everyone out. You know what I mean? They can spread them out as much as they want. It gives you there's a lot of logistical advantages from running in Tropicana Field that you simply didn't have in the Amway Center.
And okay, so we're already at this place of second waves, and I know GCW was going to run a show. They are now running without people after having run for months with fans. This next upcoming show this weekend, Slime Season, will not be with people because of
what a name for a show.
Protocols.
What a name for a show, Slime Season.
Oh yeah, and appropriate year too. I just think, is it time for WWE to try it? Because WWE hasn't stopped, and yes, everybody knows that, hey, it sucks that they haven't stopped and there's a pandemic going on. But if AEW's done it, and I'm not trying to be that guy, I'm just simply stating
No, you can be that guy.
If they've done it, WWE can at least realistically look at trying.
Definitely. If you guys are with us live, go ahead and share that link. Love all the people tuning in. Tell us where you guys are watching from, especially if you're watching for the first time. Thank you so much, Noel. Watching from Melbourne, Australia. You guys rock. Thank you. We've had a lot of growth of people in Australia listening to the show the last few months on the podcast side of things. Thank you so much. Robert, we're cracking the charts again in all these weird countries. Denmark. All right, we're bringing the pains to the Danes, baby. Denmark, you're on the chart.
Those marks in Denmark, baby.
Those marks in Denmark. You got a better pun than I did, Robert. But staying on this Royal Rumble topic and what WWE is doing here amid the pandemic, going into 2021, I think there'll be more focus on what they do in terms of the wrestling industry, also in terms of the live entertainment industry, and the way things kind of shape out. I think they could be a part of that first wave with WrestleMania, if they push it back as much as they can, of a major event. Now, the latest CDC news we've heard from the Center for Disease Control is they will have an important meeting coming up very soon about who will get the vaccines first that are being approved from Pfizer Pharmaceuticals and Moderna. And there is some hope that that'll happen to all the people in the medical facility. Now, the latest word they say is that most people who are not in those first few waves of vaccinations could get it in June. So that could really hinder getting a significant crowd or a large crowd. I do think there will be some type of crowd for WrestleMania in the spring, but we've also heard talk from WrestleVotes of a source that knows a lot of things that WrestleMania could be postponed by 5 or 6 weeks to try and get some type of crowd at the show.
Maybe. Look, I don't want to start speculating because this vaccine.
That's all we have to speculate. That's all we have. We're not saying these are concrete stories.
This virus, this vaccine, it's so fluid.
Yeah.
It's so gross. It's all that's gross. This whole year's been gross. And I hope that we're back to normal soon. I'm glad you put that on the screen because I do see this comment from Melly Mel that says if WWE
2 times the Mel. First, so much Mel. He had to be.
That's right. Mel. 2 times Mel. It's so good you got to do it twice. But he says if WWE would have done it first, y'all would have bitched like y'all always do. Now I don't know if he's talking to other people in the comments, right? So I will speak for myself. I've been very hard on WWE. I've been very hard on wrestling throughout the pandemic because I will scream from the mountaintops that although this is our job, I'd still feel better if they weren't running. Like that would just make me feel better for safety and society as a whole. But I do feel, like I said, like now it's okay for them to look into, let's run with people. AEW has been selling tickets for months. So then they can at least look at running a show with, plants if they want to.
Yeah. And I do think it is time for WWE to look at some idea. My thing is, I think it'll be, like I mentioned already, I think it'll be closer to what they've done with NXT. I think they'll have a complete flow of who is coming in. We know who they are. They're tested. We've picked them out. We've recruited an audience, just like they've done with the Thunderdome. I think that's more possibility. John Kirby, north of the border in Canada. He's on Couch Club 2020. I love his avatar. We are all on Couch Club 2020. John asking, do you have any details on the upcoming venue for Thunderdome?
As we mentioned, we know that it's in Tropicana Field.
Tropicana Field, Major League Baseball Stadium, a lot of space. It is domed, but that is non-retractable. But do you have? It's an open air field. Am I correct?
I do believe so, yes.
Okay. All right. So you're not supporting the Rays here.
No, it's Yankees or bust. I'm still from New York. Don't get it.
Okay. Oh no, but that's most of Florida though. Most of Florida are just Yankee fans that just moved down there. Right? Yeah, I get it. Thank you for giving me the Orange Cassidy half thumbs up there. Here's what we do know. It looks like they'll be in there within about a week and a half. Is what it's looking like. We do know they'll be in there for WWE TLC. And SmackDown is expected to be the first show that broadcasts from Tropicana Field with the new Thunderdome. There is a possibility that Monday at Raw, in the transition from Amway Center to Tropicana Field, will have a broadcast from the Capitol Wrestling Center, the kind of smaller Thunderdome setup they have with a recruited audience in the boards. What you see on NXT, on USA Network on Wednesday nights and takeovers, they could have that for a Raw kind of maybe once before you get Monday at Raw in Tropicana Field. So that is the latest we know on the venue and what is going on with it. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how different it would be. Speculatively, you could say that it could be even more screens, or they could just be using maybe just a small portion of Tropicana Field and they curtain off a big portion of it so you don't see it. It'll be interesting to see how they frame this and how it looks on camera.
Yeah, and Baron Corbin did an interview with my local Fox station after SmackDown last week, and he basically said it's bigger than Amway Center, so Vince is already the mind is already turning of how can we do even more.
It's gonna be bigger, better than they've ever seen before. Yes, I want to turn the stadium into a robot. We can move the stadium wherever we want.
Don't give him any ideas.
Fox is a robot. Why don't we have robots? So that's
next. It's gonna be the wrestling robot versus the hologram of Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 5 years from now.
You just gave them hologram matches, dude.
It's going to happen at some point once they figure out how to do it.
Yeah, definitely here. So that's where things stand here. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. A lot of regulars with us. You're witches. If you're with us for the first time, go ahead and hit that like button. Help us defeat our greatest enemy, algorithms. All right. So hit the like button. It helps us get more viewers, helps us climb up the feed, helps people that actually like our Facebook see our videos. Don't you remember when you were on Facebook and you could actually see the things you liked instead of them being buried in your feed? Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. So that's where things stand. Also, subscribe to the podcast. If you're an AEW fan, we have our own weekly AEW focus show. We don't mention anything except AEW. It's called Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes. The D'Angelo brothers doing that. We have a fresh episode that goes deep into this week's Dynamite. This will be the biggest Dynamite of all time. Tony Khan, president of AEW, doing a media call today. Interestingly, not a lot of wrestling media on that, a lot of mainstream media on that. Maybe that's
I believe Kenny McIntosh overseas might have been on that one, I believe, but mostly a lot of mainstream outlets.
Nothing wrong with that. I understand. Maybe they're going a different route. They're at a different level of maturation on TV, but I had a lot of interesting things that came out of this. Says that we'll get another big pay-per-view level Dynamite episode before the end of the year, and that Blood and Guts, the planned big cage match team battle that they wanted to do earlier in 2020 and delayed, obviously because of the pandemic. It's not a match they want to do without fans. That will return at some point. Didn't declare when. He also did get a little resentful of criticism of the standing of Miro, formerly known as Rusev.
I'm going to read this. Big quote verbatim, so if you'll bear with me, this is from Inside the Road.
Sure.
Miro's going to be huge here, says Tony. It's very hard for somebody to come in, Miro's going to be a big star here. It's really hard for people to come into AEW when you have a ranking system, unless they come in at the start of a New Year's cycle. And I didn't want to wait until January to bring him in. Brian Cage was the exception because I booked him. He came in January, and he had plans for the casino ladder match anyway. But he can't do that for everybody, he says. I couldn't just put Miro in the main event with no record and no history here. So he's got to have some kind of build and story. But he's working with some people at the top of AEW, or people that he regards at the top of AEW, like Best Friends and now Orange Cassidy. So we have great stuff going on at the top of the card, and I couldn't just cast everyone aside for Miro. He also goes on to say that he says some Twitter jackass brought up Miro's wedding segment with Lana, and I thought that was interesting. He says, I thought he got beaten down so bad. I saw some jackass on Twitter was like, this guy drove a tank at WrestleMania, and now he's doing this. And I was like, yeah. Then he got kicked in the nuts, and they treated him like shit for years. He drove a tank out 5 years ago. That's not the guy I signed. The guy I signed has been abused for years, and he's being rebuilt. He's going to be a huge star in wrestling, and he is a huge star. He's a huge name in wrestling, but wasn't treated like it for a long time. So I would like to state publicly, I may or may not be the person in question here. I've been very critical of the fact that Miro was...
Robert, I don't think you're the only person that brought up...
I'm just saying, I go on a weekly platform and go on a literal rant about the fact that he drove a tank at WrestleMania, and I don't like what he's doing. But if they have plans for the former Rusev, that is good. I'm glad to hear it. I thought it was interesting to hear him put so much emphasis on the wins and losses and the fact of a new year, new cycle. So that's coming too. So maybe next year, Slate gets wiped clean. Maybe Sean Spears is a main eventer. And if that's the kind of situation that AEW can present, because remember, we're only 1 year deep, I think that would be awesome. I want Sean Spears in the main event scene. I want Miro in the main event scene. You know, very exciting to hear that he's got good things going for Miro.
We're getting some Royal Yumble questions.
I see that, Kevin.
We'll talk about them. We're saving all that fun stuff for the final segment. We'll be talking about this backdrop.
Guys,
all of the in-show meta stuff we'll talk about, but let's stay on topic
I
here.
promise you that wrestling as a whole has the guarantee of bringing back fun in 2021, and that's a part of it.
Yes, we're going to kick off the return of fun, the revenge of fun. I want to trademark that, Robert, and I want to do a comedy tour called Revenge of Fun.
I think that'd be awesome.
That's an idea I've had. But AEW is busy. That's why they're doing this media call, because they have Winter is Coming, a special edition of AEW Dynamite. It will also feature a Battle Royal. They love themselves some Battle Royals, don't they, Robert? They love themselves some Battle Royals.
I like the Dynamite doesn't Battle Royal. I'm glad it's a yearly thing for them. And I go on record, I do think it's just going to go back to MJF. The only other
the winner gets the ring, right?
Right.
The winner gets they get the Battle Bowl ring. Everyone compares.
So the only other person I see winning this ring is Guevara, just to play on that heat in the inner circle. Other than that, I think it goes right back to MJF.
You know, I heard a really great one. We Watch Wrestling, Matt McCarthy. We've had him on the show. Really, really great. Former WWE writer, an incredible comedian. Go listen to his album, Silver Dad. He does the We Watch Wrestling podcast. And he pitched this idea. I heard on one of their shows recently. It made me laugh. I was in a Walgreens. I was laughing with my mask on, listening to this, just like cackling in front of like I was picking out candy. I was picking out candy. And I was laughing, so I look like a complete. You look
like one of those Walmart people.
Yeah. So I'm at the Walgreens laughing. Listen, Matt McCarthy pitched this idea, and it is that Kip Sabian wins the Battle Royal and gets the ring. And that's the ring he uses to finally give to Penelope Ford. So Kip Sabian is running around. He's out there with Miro. So Miro is his best man. And they're engaged, and they're going to get married at some point. And I guess he hasn't given her a ring or something like that. They've alluded to some they said that on television. So he connected those dots. But the problem is that he would have to keep winning the Battle Royal every year to keep the ring. And I thought,
see, that's too intricate.
That's honestly long-term booking. You write yourself into a hole with it because, like, what if Kip Sabian's not even with the company a year? But I also thought, I was like, that's legitimately really funny. I think that'd be really, really funny if they did it, but just an idea.
I like that, actually. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Let's get off the battle royals, everything else. This show's being sold on one thing. It's being sold on what should be a pay-per-view main event. You should be paying for it, but Tony Khan said in this media call today is he simply wants to give fans pay-per-view payoffs on TV and spread this out and not oversaturate the market with pay-per-view. It's worth noting, they had that huge Tyson return to pay-per-view fight this weekend, did huge business. I saw executives with Fight TV posting about that and how happy they were with their pay-per-view apps, doing very, very well with that, the most profitable app on Apple this past weekend. So maybe you don't want to be in that market and be in there. So very keen move by AEW to say, we're going to give you a pay-per-view match, but we're going to give it to you on free TV. And it's very interesting they're going with this. They've built it up for weeks. It's been expected for a long, long time, even by fans before they even made it official that this is where they were going. They've been going in this direction since the last pay-per-view, even past the one that just happened, to get here, to do a tournament, to get Kenny Omega back to being the cleaner, to be in the ring with Jon Moxley. They had this match at Full Gear just about a year and change ago. That was a brutal, hardcore street fight. This is designed to be a banger main event. But does it deliver?
Absolutely. That's not even a question. Absolutely. Jon Moxley is, for better or worse, the best version of Jon Moxley that a global audience has ever seen. And I've said this before, I've never had a single problem with his Dean Ambrose run. Was the end of it lackluster? Sure. But I think that overall his run there was very positive. This Jon Moxley is having fun. He's confident. He's kicking ass. It's all great there. But Kenny Omega should have been the first AEW World Champion anyway. And now that we're here, he has to win it. Has to. That's it. That's it, Kevin. He has to win it. They shouldn't even have the match. Jon Moxley should hand him the championship because he has to win this belt. If he doesn't win this belt, we have some questions going into the next year. But I think 2021 being built around the return of traveling and Kenny Omega being the traveling champion that gets to return to Arena is special. Now, granted, I will say Moxley deserves a run as a traveling champion as well, but Omega is the guy. And I think it's going to be a banger match. I said this on the podcast I did last week. Do commercial breaks for the first hour and a half of the show. Do it wherever you need to do it. This match, you work your ass off to present commercial free, not picture in picture, even if it's restaurant quality.
You're getting a ton of picture in picture with this. I'm telling you.
Even if it's restaurant quality picture in picture, you gotta go full throttle commercial free. This is your main event of the evening. Winter's coming. By the way, winter is here. I live in Florida. It is cold. It is 50 degrees, and if you live in Florida, I understand.
That's
if you live
cold for you.
If you live in Chicago,
cold. 50 degrees.
If you live in Chicago,
it's 50 degrees.
I understand that reaction.
No.
I understand it.
Hold his hand. Someone hold his hand and rub it because it's chilly.
That's why I've been sitting like this the whole podcast. But
ridiculous.
I will tell you, it's a little chillier in the air here, so they got the name right, unlike doing Bash at the Beach in January when nobody's at the beach. But I think this is Kenny Omega's night. I think he has an amazing entrance that can only be rivaled by, like, Triple H at WrestleMania. You know, because they're getting more and more obnoxious with these Omega entrances, and they work because he's supposed to be obnoxious with it. And it's going to be a good time.
I think my thing, like I ask, what is it going to deliver? I think the expectations are through the roof with this thing. You know what I mean? Like, they are through the roof that you're going to get this match that's going to blow you away. And my thing is, if it's just very good, that isn't good enough because you're AEW and you've built up these expectations. So I hold it to a higher standard. I hold it to the standard that people have set for it, you know? And the match they had before was incredible. And Omega hasn't had that banger match in a while. He's had a couple, but he hasn't had those matches where you start talking about it like it's a game changer. You're talking about it the way you did with the stuff he did in Tokyo. He hasn't had those type of performances. Here and there, he's had some. And one of them was with Moxley. One of them was on TV in the build to get here with Pentagon, right? But interestingly enough, you're doing this Omega Moxley thing, and we get the ratings news yesterday. We get this delayed ratings news yesterday that their Black Wednesday episode, which was their big go-home episode. It was Omega and Moxley in the ring, getting physical. Moxley laying them out, cutting a hell of a promo, saying, "You're not taking this belt off me. The big showdown, we built to it." They had 2 weeks of contract signing stuff. And some people said they were a little critical of the build here. The go-home feud, did it deliver? Did it make this match any more appetizing?
Hold on. They had 2 weeks to build, and you can say what you want about that, but it's okay. Because they're giving you a match that, quite frankly, AEW can do this and make it work, unlike WWE, where I would much rather thank you, Tony Khan, for giving me this match on free television rather than making me spend $50, which you would, because you spend $50 on an AEW show for this match. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well. I think the match will be fun, but you do that and you lose 150,000 viewers the day before Thanksgiving. That's a huge factor. Okay. And NXT basically beats you by about 2,000 viewers. And yeah, you still win the demo. Everyone's going to talk about the demo, but was there something here about this angle, about this focus of the show that didn't do it? I mean, they didn't end with this. They didn't end with Moxley and Omega. And NXT ended with a fire ladder match to build up an advantage for this Sunday's NXT War Games, a huge team-on-team cage match between McAfee's Kings of NXT group and the Undisputed Era. It was Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly in a ladder match to get advantage, who would start off in the cage match. And that ended NXT. I loved that match. I thought it was the best match of the night. Thought it was better than any of the matches they had on AEW, though there were some fun angles and great things on both shows. It shows you NXT is still in this fight. Even with an Omega Moxley match, they were still making this interesting.
I just want to point out that the hyper criticism that is placed on any program with these ratings is really egregious, in my opinion. Like, oh, well, they went down, so clearly that means that this angle's not working, and that means that Moxley.
I wouldn't say it's not working. I'm just saying I don't know if it's everything that people want it to be. That's why I have a little bit of worry about it.
It doesn't. To me.
That's all I'm saying.
No, and I understand that, and you're very. I'm not saying this directly to you. To me, every time I hear this like critical analysis of, well, they went down because you see this.
Robert,
I can bulk of. Yes,
you just blipped out there for a second. You were saying critical analysis.
The critical analysis. You can watch any program on YouTube, and maybe the day before Thanksgiving, you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're prepping in, the latest in the box. Maybe you don't about the Inner Circle Slays Vegas. Yeah.
Robert, you still with me there, bud?
I should be.
All right, hang on. Give me 1 second. See if the internet's still working. You still with me live? You should be. Hang on.
I should be.
All right, my signal dropped down immediately out of nowhere. There we are. All right, we should be fine now. Hopefully we're fine. So Robert, are you there? This is great podcast stuff, isn't it? If we're still live, guys. All right, Robert, you back with me?
Anybody tell us if we're still live?
Yeah.
I should be good.
I don't know what happened. I think it was on my end. Sorry about that. We've had good internet for months now, so I'm not going to complain, right? So some of those things are bound to happen.
I'm being told that I spaced out like Riddle.
Okay.
I don't know if that was on me or what happened.
Yeah, the Spicoli of WWE, Matt Riddle. That's what he is. Yeah. We're getting that in here. Here's my thing. I have worries with the angle of Moxley being attacked backstage. We don't know who did that. Kenny Omega wasn't physically in a position to be able to do that, right? He was in the ring when they did that contract signing 2 weeks ago. They cut backstage. Moxley's laid out. Okay. My concern and worry is this match is an angle. It's a fun match, but it ends with an angle to get to another match. It isn't like this big pay-per-view blow-off confrontation that I'm not saying it's being sold exactly as that, but I do think it's television and they want you to watch TV next week. And so I do think there's a possibility of something here. There's something looming. There's some big surprise with this match, not just this match. So I would say you're going to want to watch, and this is going to go on last. There's no way you can do anything else in the show that isn't last, right?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, Robert, you there? I'm blipping in and out here.
Yeah.
Robert, Robert's going to reboot. Let's see if Robert reboots and rejoins us. So that is my concern. All right, is that something happens in this match that takes away from it being great, and I'm not like holding this against AEW. I'm holding them to it. That's all I'm saying. And I think there's a lot of things they can do here that are really, really special, and this is one of them. Other people asking questions here, like, what are your thoughts of the build-up to Wrestle Kingdom? Well, it's interesting to ask that question with Jon Moxley in this title match situation. He is the AEW World Champion, and you have a scenario here where it looks like, let me get over here. It looks like you could have a scenario where he is your champion, and something happens where he loses the belt, and now what is he going to do? He's going to show up at New Japan as the United States champion. He still is their United States champion. Show up there at Wrestle Kingdom beginning of January for New Japan Pro Wrestling and defend that title. I'm going to see if Robert rejoins me here. I'm going to message him and say, hey, come on back. Come on back. So if this match is him losing the title, it means you're going to see him in the ring within a few weeks. If he's a part of Wrestle Kingdom, I think we'll know after next Wednesday whether or not he's going to be part of that card for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He has not dropped that title. I don't think he would keep the title if he was in a position where he could, especially if he's healthy and he could drop it. I don't think it's going to happen here. So let's see what more your comments are. Pam is saying that she wants Raw. She thinks Jon Moxley's boring. She wants her boyfriend Kenny Omega to win that belt. Let's see what happens here. Who's going to win with your screens? I don't know. Maybe this screen or that screen over there. Or wait, not. I think we had some internet issues here with Robert. My internet is booming right now. So it's moving just along just fine. Let's see if Robert pops back in here with us. All right, Robert, firing off here in a second. There you are, Robert. Sorry about that, buddy.
No. I think we might have had a problem on my end. This might be on me, not on the fine folks.
It's usually on me. It's usually 9 times.
This might have been on me.
So here we are. The question did come up, and I did address it already and cover it all out here. Is this match somehow spoiled in some way as Omega's crowning moment? Because we know that Moxley is still the reigning New Japan United States champion, and there's a possibility that he'll be a part of that big card for Tokyo Dome that first weekend in January.
I would like to answer this in the same way that Tony Khan just answered the question of whether or not Moxley will be competing.
I didn't catch this. Thank you for giving me the download on this. We had to follow along on Twitter.
On Twitter, yes.
Yeah.
No. That's it. He gave one word answer. Will Moxley be competing at January? No.
So he won't be at New Wrestle Kingdom. I'm waiting for Robert's answer, and his internet is once again gone. All right, so Robert is going to dial back in and give me a no answer there. Let's see more of your questions here. Sound off. Get on as we're rolling. I'm live, baby. I can roll with it. People saying save the Yumble. If you don't know what the Yumble is our fast food themed video game fracas. We've done 2 of these now. This will be our 3rd one. I believe we're going to do it in January. We usually do it the afternoon or the day before the Royal Rumble. So if we do this event, we want to know what you guys want to see on that show in terms of fast food brands and all those different things. It is ridiculous. We did one last year. We had made a T-shirt. We did it for the Australian bushfire pandemic issue. That was a different pandemic. That was in the early part of 2021. We will do a T-shirt, I think, for charity or some type of merch that you can buy and then enjoy it here. Naseem, what's going on? Thank you for watching the show. If you guys are with us for the first time, sign off, especially on YouTube. Ton of stuff going on there. And it will stream on YouTube and Facebook. I'm thinking about maybe doing something with it that's exclusive to our YouTube channel because we need to beef that up a little bit. James Espanto Fernando says, if Omega versus Moxley doesn't deliver a 6-star match in the Tokyo Dome, will it damage the aura of AEW and Omega? See, this is what I'm talking about. I think the hype for this match with two guys that have so well-rated big-time matches that this match has to be as great as I'm saying it needs to be because the hype is so built into it. Like, there's no explanation for anything else on this card. Like, they need to make this the best possible thing it can be. And if it isn't, I do think there's going to be a lot of people that are disappointed. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be swarming to be critical of this. And I'm okay with this match not being the best match I've ever seen. But people are holding it to that regard. And you know, quote me on this. You're going to see people that are going to say, oh, this isn't the best match ever, so it sucks. It's going to happen. We're spoiled. Wrestling fans are spoiled. Here we go. What if we see something phenomenal during the Moxley Omega match? I think you will. I think they're going to have a great match. I think Omega has something to prove here. I think John Moxley wants to remind everyone why he's still the AEW World Champion, why he went to AEW, that the reason he did all those things is so he can have these matches. And I do think AEW is in a position where they want to remind people, hey, we're out to kick some ass and really get a gap going with WWE NXT in terms of ratings and viewership and get to the point where us having a video game is something that means something, licensing, further merchandise, and really set themselves up for some big things in 2021. So there's a lot weighing on this match. So let's see if it delivers. Naseem is saying, what do you think about AJ Styles being the #1 contender for the WWE Championship? Naseem, great question. I was going to cover this before we got off here with these technical issues today. This is a big scenario set up on this week's Monday at Raw. AJ back in the world title hunt again. This is an interesting scenario for him. He led Team Raw. It was the captain, faux captain, whatever you want to say. Then won a qualifier, got in this triple threat, and got out of last night's Monday at Raw. Listen to our Monday at Raw post show. We cover all that. This is AJ back in the mix with Drew McIntyre. I believe they've had singles matches once or twice, but nothing like this on pay-per-view. Completely different scenario, completely different style for Styles to be in. And you also have him with the henchman at ringside. And I do think that it's going to be a very significant contributing factor is how most people know him as Big Jordan before his name was given on TV, that he could play a factor in this match. That guy's bigger, I believe a little bit physically bigger than Drew McIntyre himself, a legit 7-footer. I think there's some fun dynamics. Drew pulled out some physical maneuvering in the match with Roman Reigns. It was really, really compelling. Even though he lost, it was a great, great match. I think it's the right move if you want to have a banger match before you can have WrestleMania season. And this is one of those matches you can get to. I think even in a loss, Styles can still come off like a hell of a performer here and do something really, really special. I wonder if it's going to be a TLC match. We'll see. We haven't determined what matches, I believe, just yet are going to be TLC or tables, ladders, or chairs involved. Sometimes at the TLC pay-per-view that they have every year, there's just a TLC match, and then there's a ladder match, and that's it. Sometimes there's a tables match. It's the different scenario involving all those violent instruments. So that is where things stand. If you guys have questions, you're with us live, go ahead and fire them off or hit us up on social media at WrestleZone.com on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook here as well. And if you haven't done it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on, set those as reminders so you know when we go live. We'll be live after AEW NXT this week, a special live post show, and we have newsflash videos. We'll have an Impact Post Wrestling show. We'll have hours of content for you to devour, both in video and audio form. Thank you so much for devouring it. I hope it fills your ears during these very challenging times. People are spending a lot of time with media, and we want you, when you spend time with us, to appreciate it. If you're like Naseem and you like your questions being on screen, share this. Take a screenshot. Share it with your friends. All right. Say, hey, my questions get on the show. I'm on the show all the time. We want that. I want more people who don't watch our show to watch our show. And you guys are a big part of spreading the word about that. Thank you so much for supporting what we do here at WrestleZone. Don't forget to share the link, pass it on, maybe tag some of your friends here in the comments as well. And, of course, subscribe to the podcast. All the good stuff. Plug. All right. You can catch me on air on 101 WKQX, the best alternative rock radio station in the world. Streaming at 101WKQX.com. We have a big streaming concert event coming up December 23rd, Festivus, just 2 days before Christmas. We're going to have Glass Animals, Cold War Kids, and Wallows, plus some special guests, some significant special guests. It's $17.50 for an awesome streaming concert, super interactive, big time deal. It'll be a pure spectacle, not just people on a screen performing. You will see a show. All right, it's going to be really, really cool. Get more details at 101WKQX.com. Win your tickets there as well. If you guys want to win some tickets to the show and be able to stream it from home, on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your TV, all that good stuff, text the word virtual. That's VIRTUAL, virtual, to 312-101. That is virtual to 312-101. And, of course, go to 101WKQX.com to buy your streaming ticket for that event. The Night We Stole Christmas, a streaming alternative rock spectacular. All the details, once again, 101WKQX.com. Thank you to them. I always support them. They support me. When I'm not on air for this microphone, I'm on for them as well. Check out everything we're doing at WrestleZone.com, your source for everything wrestling. And remember, when watching wrestling,